Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Herold here on Badlands Media. I am your host, John Herold, and full disclosure, I'm recording this episode earlier. So when you're watching this starting at 1 Eastern, right here, right now, when I'm recording, it's 11:20 Eastern. The reason I'm doing it is I get to go have lunch with my son at his school today, and I did not want to miss that. So if there's any major breaking news between like 11:20 and 1 p.m. Eastern, it's not going to be talked about in this episode. But I'm going to try to get to as much as I can, as quickly as I can, as usual. Before we do any of that, let's get a quick word from our sponsors. First up, we got Goldco. Are you ready for the golden age? With recent headlines buzzing about Fort Knox, it's time to shine a light on gold. We've seen questions like, is there really gold in Fort Knox? And is the government secretly moving it? But the real question is, are we going back to the gold standard? In a world where economic stability is uncertain, gold remains the timeless asset. Fort Knox, the fortress of America's gold reserves, is under scrutiny, and this might be the moment gold proves its worth once again. Don't miss out on securing your financial future. Gold isn't just an investment, it's a safeguard against inflation, currency devaluation, and economic turmoil. Whether it's for your retirement, as a family heirloom, or just to have that peace of mind, now is the time to invest in gold. Are we going back to the gold standard? Only time will tell. Don't miss a golden opportunity to find out. Secure your wealth now. Visit badlandsgold.com to learn how you can add gold to your portfolio. With whispers of returning to a gold standard, your future could be as bright as gold itself. That's badlandsgold.com. And we also got Save Pulse. Save Pulse is committed to keeping you and your family healthy with top quality medications like amoxicillin, azithromycin, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and more. The ordering process is streamlined for your convenience, and they pride themselves on offering unbeatable prices. Now's the time to prepare for any health scenario. Head over to badlandsmedia.tv/meds to stock up on essential antibiotics and viral care medications. Ensure you're ready for anything by visiting badlandsmedia.tv/meds. And don't forget to use the promo code Badlands at checkout to get 10% discount on orders over $150. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/meds, promo code Badlands, to save on your health essentials today. And just want to again say thank you to our sponsors. We couldn't do what we do without them. And of course, without you guys in the audience watching. A great way to support us here at Badlands Media is either subscribing on one of the platforms you can subscribe. And here on Rumble, we're getting the option for premium very soon. So we'll get a kickback or whatever, a commission for anytime somebody signs up for Rumble Premium using our code. So that's coming very soon. But another way you can support us is supporting our sponsors, hitting that like button and sharing it around. Let's get right to the news. First up, the Doge website. I'm going to try to check this every day. There hasn't really been any updates in terms of saving. They said right away they're going to be doing this twice a week, and we already got our one. So we probably won't expect the next one for a couple days. But just the main page even. This is a good compilation. You can just go to their Twitter account as well. It's the same thing. It's just a feed right now. I think in the future it's going to feed in from multiple different sources. Not much change on the workforce or regulations, but I'm excited to monitor this stuff in real time. I'm gonna have to start keeping track of where the numbers are so that we can keep track on a daily or weekly basis. Some news from yesterday on the confirmations. We have confirmed Howard Lutnick as the 42nd Secretary of Commerce. He is the 17th cabinet nomination that has been confirmed for Donald Trump. So we've got 17 through. Kash Patel, they voted to advance his nomination for FBI director. So the process they're doing here, I was going to actually have Ash on to come explain it because it's just over ridiculous to me. I'll try to have her on tomorrow if she's available. But so they got him on a committee. They got him here. Now they voted on him. And this is just the part of cloture. So the 30-hour discussion period has been initiated, and his final approval vote will be Thursday. So we wait some more, and we'll see what they can stall with. Ash actually sent me a text, and this is what she said. And I thought it was interesting. She says she might be wrong, and I didn't ask for permission to read this, so Apologies, Ash, but I thought it was an interesting point. But I think the signaling and drama about budget resolutions is another delay tactic for cash. They're voting now. Executive session vote for cash, not cloture vote. The vote that allows them to file cloture to then invoke cloture, another vote, and whatnot. But Thune is posting about how important this budget thing is. These guys are using every delay tactic in the book, and that's pretty spot on. Trump is talking a lot about the budget stuff as well, and we've been talking about that here. Let me show you this post from Cami Mondo. House will bring up its budget reconciliation package next week. Source confirms to me. Comes as Senate has plans to move its bill this week, but Trump has endorsed the House strategy. They're both coming up with separate bills. Whichever bill ends up being the bill that everybody wants, that's great, whatever. But remember, the Senate has enough of a minority for Democrats, like they have enough numbers in the minority that they can't get anything out of the Senate without getting 60 total votes. And if the breakdown's 53-47, if I'm not mistaken, that means we need 7 senators to cross party lines and push something through. It's going to be so interesting. Been talking about it for a while. It's going to be so interesting, this situation, because I don't know what Trump really wants. I would like to see a shutdown personally, but that's just me being selfish. And I don't know if I do know I don't always get what I want. And I've said this is going to happen no less than like 10 times now in the past 4 years, because at some point it's got to happen, in my opinion. But obviously I could be wrong. This is what Trump had to say about Mike Johnson's package. Donald Trump on Truth Social. The House and Senate are doing a spectacular job of working together as one unified and unbeatable team. However, unlike the Lindsey Graham version of the very important legislation currently being discussed, the House resolution implements my full America First agenda. Everything, not just parts of it. We need both chambers to pass the House budget to kickstart the reconciliation process and move all of our priorities to the concept of one big, beautiful bill. It will, without question, make America great again. So Trump's signaling this is what he wants. The Democrats have one thing they can do. It's the only leverage they have over anything. And it's not allowing this bill to get the 3/5 that it needs. Are they going to do that? Are they going to use it? Are they going to try to negotiate something? I don't know. But I can't imagine they're just going to roll over and give Trump the thing he's saying is everything he wants. Right? Doesn't make any sense. Don't see that happening. But we shall see. A couple things. Okay, I thought this was kind of funny. Let me show you this first. So today, one of the votes that they're doing is for, what's her name? It's for the labor secretary. Chavez DeRemer, Lori Chavez DeRemer. Okay, she's doing her opening statement today. And I think this guy, Senator Mullen, he must be the chairman of this committee or something, which is great. That's fine.
You got to remind yourself.
I have no issue with this guy, but he posted this. And I don't even care what he says. I just saw the video. This is a senator. And I feel like he's trying to give a speech in a classroom.
Lori, the secretary of.
Hey, kids, don't do drugs. Look at me. I'm a cool senator sitting on my desk all cool with a big cow in the background. This is just funny. I don't know why. So I figured since I saw it, you all have to see it too.
And
okay, let's keep going. Yesterday, Trump and Elon Musk, they sat for an interview. I guess they sat for it a couple days ago. They aired the interview of Trump and Musk last night. And I listened to it. It was pretty good. It didn't really give anything that I didn't expect we'd get. We did get some confirmation, and I don't have the actual clip pulled up here, but the quote I had, and this is the one thing that I posted from the interview because I thought it was probably most notable. And it's this right here. So Elon Musk confirmed that the United States is already using Starshield for national defense. And then this made me think of the Iron Dome executive order that we got before. I had General Quast on for an interview to discuss it. And a lot of this technology, we kind of speculated it already exists. And he's just absolutely brilliant, General Quast. If you missed him on the narrative, again, I haven't finished the episode yet, but I'd encourage you to go watch it. That was this last Sunday. But was the Iron Dome executive order that Trump issued a few weeks ago just like the narrative disclosure of Starshield already being in place? And don't forget what Kash Patel said.
Yeah. DOD's biggest contractor is Elon Musk.
That's right.
Oh. In the context of this clip, they were talking on Gutfeld about internet for the world. And he's talking about all these these satellites going up, and it's just really cool how you see it. And then he goes into this. And it's just funny because we already speculated this was the case, that this stuff was already being done. And a lot of what we're getting is just the narrative disclosure of stuff that's already taken place in the past. It's just telling of the story. And we got confirmation from Elon Musk last night. Hannity mentioned something about, in the future, you guys potentially going to use Starshield for just national defense. And Elon Musk's like, well, we're already doing that. I don't know if he was supposed to say that or what, but these are satellites, and they can have a payload. This is from Wikipedia, but Starshield is a business unit of SpaceX creating purpose-built low Earth orbit satellites designed to provide new military space capabilities to U.S. and allied governments. Starshield was adapted from the global communications network Starlink, but brings additional capabilities such as target tracking, optical and radio reconnaissance, and early missile warning. Primary customers include the Space Development Agency, National Reconnaissance Office, and the United States Space Force. See, I didn't even know this. As of 2024, at least 98 Starshield satellites have been launched. With the last batch of 17, there's a 17 for you. And I thought my reading yesterday, the first satellites were designed for the Space Development Agency and outfitted with advanced infrared sensors meant to detect and track ballistic and hypersonic missiles. I wonder if these can actually shoot stuff too. So when I was reading it yesterday, I was definitely under the impression that these were these space lasers that, Rachel Maddow warned us about. So I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was very interesting. I do have a couple clips. They talked a lot about the Doge and the Democrats freaking out about what they're doing with Doge. Let's play this.
So they sign a contract in a government agency, and it has 3 months, and the guy leaves that signed the contract, and nobody else is there, and they pay the contract for 10 years.
Yeah.
So the guy is getting checks for years and years and years, and he's telling his family, obviously, maybe it was crooked, maybe he paid to get the contract, or maybe he paid that they didn't terminate it. But, we have contracts that go forever, and they've been going for years. And they're supposed to end in 3 months or 5 months or 2 years or something, and they go forever. So the guy is either crooked, where he knew this was going to happen, or he's crooked because he's getting payments that he knows he shouldn't be getting. But they're finding things like that. They're finding things far worse than that. And they're finding billions, and it will be hundreds of billions of dollars worth of fraud. I say waste and abuse, but fraud, waste, and abuse. And he's doing an amazing job. And he attracts a young, very smart type of person. I call them high IQ individuals, and they are. They're very high IQ. And when they go in to see the people and talk to these people, the people think they're going to pull it over. They don't. These guys are smart, and they love the country. There's a certain something. But he uses the word care. So
it was kind of like a bro fest, like a bro down. They were very complimentary of each other and talking about how awesome and how much both of them care, in between talking about the details of stuff. And at the beginning, I'm surprised we haven't seen more people attack Trump and Elon on this, and maybe I just haven't seen it. But there's this one part where they're talking about this Twitter lawsuit, and Trump is basically like, I settled for $10 million. I gave him a big discount. And he's essentially working for the White House now. I thought there might be some pushback on this, like a quid pro quo type of thing. And maybe that's coming because I just pointed out now, but take a listen to this.
He's working for free with Doge. He's kind of put a lot of his life on hold. And you sued Twitter a number of years ago. You just made him pay you $10 million?
That's right.
That's right.
Well, I sued from long before he had it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they really did a number on me, and I sued and they had to pay, they paid $10 million settlement.
You're okay with that?
I mean, I left it up to the lawyers and the team running Twitter. So I said, you guys do what you think is the right, it makes sense.
I think it's funny.
I think
Because-
it's a very low, I was looking to get much more money than that.
So you gave him a discount in the lawsuit.
He got a big discount. I don't think he even knows about it.
He's become
Yeah.
one of your, if you read it and believe the media.
I mean, that's pretty funny. He just admitted to yeah, you got a discount. I settled for less. Watch Elon's eyes. His facial expressions are just hilarious. Watch him. Is he actually high when he's doing these things? Anyway, just a weird dude, but he's so smart, obviously brilliant. We're going to talk about, he's got 13 kids. We're going to talk about in vitro fertilization because that's rumored what Elon has done for many of his kids. I don't know if that's the case with Ashley St. Clair. There was a tweet up that was fabricated. It was fake, but we're going to talk about that. Speaking of Elon, there's one more thing I want to point out on this, maybe two more things. For sure one. Yeah, just one. They did mention about Social Security and I think this is important. I'm going to play the clip and then I'll explain why.
Look, Social Security won't be touched other than
Won't
if
be
there's
touched.
fraud or something, we're going to find it's going to be strengthened, but won't be touched. Medicare, Medicaid, none of that stuff is going to be touched.
Nothing. I
You
want
don't
you to-
have to. Now, if there are illegal migrants in the system, we're going to get them out of the system and all of that fraud, but it's not going to be touched.
The left is using this as an attack point. And if you remember in the very early days of Trump's administration, like 3 weeks ago, there was a little hiccup when Trump implemented the hiring freeze, I think, or the spending freeze for 90 days, whatever it was. There were some, I think, rogue actors within the system somewhere, and they paused and caused some issues with payments coming from Social Security and Medicaid, very early on. And this was an attack vector they used to attack Trump, saying he's coming after your Social Security and all this stuff. Them confirming here that they're not going to do that, I think, is a big deal. So whenever you hear this or run into this out in the wild or in your day-to-day life, you can point to this. They're not going that. Where they're going with Social Security when they're looking into it is the 20 million people that are over the age of 100, or maybe it's more than that. I don't remember. Maybe the people that are over 200 and 300 years old in the system that are receiving checks, the illegal immigrants, the people who shouldn't be on Social Security or Medicare, they're cleaning it up. When you have 390 million people in the system on the books and only 340 million people in your country, you have a problem. That's what they're doing. And I think a lot of the corruption stuff with the Democrats freaking out over all this waste and uncovering of it and stopping it, it's falling on deaf ears. There's even some polling that's showing things are shifting pretty widely. This is from CNN.
Republican Party, Donald Trump and the Republican Party has changed the electorate. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at party identification, Democrats versus Republicans. You go back to 2017, 5 points more of the electorate was Democrats than Republicans. You go to 2021 when Joe Biden was starting out, look at that. 6 points more of the electorate was Democrats than Republicans. But look at what's happened in February of 2025. Look at this. Republicans, there are more Republicans in the electorate than there are Democrats. Republican +2. So Donald Trump and the Republicans have remade the electorate. They've turned some people over from being Democrats or independents to become Republicans. New folks have entered the electorate who are more Republican.
You get the idea. So this is a big point, and I kind of touched on this yesterday a little bit, and I think I'm going to touch on it again now, just briefly. If we fix our elections, that's the caveat to all this. We have to fix our elections. Trump has signaled he's going to do so, but without doing that, none of this matters. And I don't even necessarily trust the polling, only +2 points. This country is way more supportive of Trump than just the 2-point change, whatever. But at least they're talking about it, which means they're aware of it and they need to provide some, reason or whatever story for it on their end. So that's what we're getting with this. But if we fix our elections, the Democrat Party is done. they're finished. They have no individual personality that people can, look to as like, that's the party. They have no Barack Obama. People aren't afraid to not vote Democrat anymore just because they did growing up. Like, it's not the same Democrat Party. Tradition isn't a good enough reason anymore. And they have, like I said yesterday, they have no, like, these are our values. This is our platform. Their platform is anti-Trump now. They pushed the DEI stuff too far. It woke too many people up. And now all they have is just, we're the party of anti-Trump. Anything Trump does, we are against that. And it's beautiful because while Trump is reshaping and taking over the GOP, it's not even the GOP anymore. It's the America First movement. As that's forming out and building and looking forward and continuing to just get bigger and bigger because more people are in favor of what Trump is doing, it's led by Trump. And so that's the momentum beyond Trump is it's already there. It's going to be there. What are they going to do as the anti-Trump party when Trump's not there anymore? It's beautiful to watch. And it's beautiful to see CNN reporting on the shift there. Let's talk a little bit about Zelensky and Ukraine, because there's been some interesting back and forths here. So first, this story. U.S. and Russia push for Ukrainian elections as part of a peace agreement. Russia has refused to sign a peace agreement unless Ukraine commits to elections, while the U.S. is reportedly considering a three-stage plan, a ceasefire, followed by Ukrainian elections, and then the signing of the peace deal. So this is fascinating because Zelensky and Europe are both upset, big sad, that they're not at the table during these negotiations. Okay? And so Zelensky's like, hey, we are not going to agree to any peace deal unless we're included and get to like put our interests first. And now the United States and Russia are like, okay, well, we're not going to agree to any peace deal until you guys hold elections. And then whoever wins that election, they can be the ones that sign the peace deal. So he's complaining about not having a seat at the table. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to get rid of you and then give whoever wins the election the seat at the table to sign the deal that we negotiate. It's brilliant. In response, Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky claimed President Trump was being swayed by Russian disinformation due to his ongoing discussions with the Kremlin. Zelensky's term was set to end in May of 2024, with elections originally planned for April of that year. But his administration has maintained that elections cannot be held until 6 months after martial law is lifted, and Ukraine's constitution prohibits elections during wartime. With his approval ratings having dropped nearly 40% since the war began, Zelensky could face a difficult re-election battle if peace is secured and a vote takes place. You know what? I'm going to see if I can find that video of Blinken on Ukraine's elections, because the Biden administration was totally in support of them not holding elections. Yeah, I found it right here.
Society groups to shore up Ukraine's election infrastructure. That way, as soon as Ukrainians agree the conditions allow, all Ukrainians, including those displaced by Russia's aggression, can exercise their right to vote. People in Ukraine and around the world can have confidence that the voting process is free, fair, secure.
And what's also brilliant about this, okay, so in that clip, Blinken talks about, so all Ukrainians have the ability to vote, even those displaced by Russian aggression. Would you consider Crimea? And like, so think of all the territory that Russia's gone into, territories that they voted to be part of Russia anyway, right? Are they going to get to vote in the Ukrainian elections to oust Zelensky? And then whoever comes in signs the peace deal, which those countries will then go to Russia anyway? Because if that's the case, that's even funnier. I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to see. But we shall see. Some U.S. officials had previously pushed for Ukraine to hold its elections as originally scheduled last year. I don't remember anybody pushing back on that except for like our side. Zelensky is unlikely to win the elections if they were to be held in Ukraine because his popularity dropped significantly at the end of 2024, said Russian-born U.S. intelligence expert Rebecca Koffler. Ukrainians are exhausted by the war, and many have come to the realization that it's unwinnable for Ukraine. Zelensky has also lost the backing of his key supporter, Igor Kolomoisky. Talked about him a lot on this network, who has been indicted for in both U.S. and Ukraine on charges of money laundering and bank fraud. His primary challenger is expected to be Valery Zaluzhny, a four-star general and Ukraine's current ambassador to the United Kingdom. Zelensky dismissed him as head of the armed forces last year in a major and politically unpopular move. He had previously stated that Ukraine's war with Russia reached a stalemate by late 2023. So he's not happy. Russia's like, okay, well, we'll just get rid of you and put somebody else in. And then Trump comes. This post, I would say, is in line with what Russia wants, because Trump is essentially calling him a dictator here. Not even essentially, he does. He outright states it, I believe. Think of it. A modestly successful comedian, Volodymyr Zelensky, talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that couldn't be won, that never had to start, but a war that he, without the U.S. and Trump, will never be able to settle. The United States has spent $200 billion more than Europe, and Europe's money is guaranteed, while the United States will get nothing back. Why didn't Sleepy Joe demand equalization? In that this war is far more important to Europe than it is to us. We have a big, beautiful ocean as separation. On top of this, Zelensky admits that half of the money we sent him is missing. He refuses to have elections, is very low in Ukrainian polls, and the only thing he was good at was playing Biden like a fiddle. A dictator without elections, Zelensky better move fast, or he's not going to have a country left. In the meantime, we are successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia, something I'll admit only Trump and the Trump administration can do. Biden never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelensky probably wants to keep the gravy train going. I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered, and millions have unnecessarily died, and so it continues. So now they're putting all the pressure on Zelensky to either agree to the deal or hold the elections first. It's just a fascinating back and forth. And then this is a Ukrainian. I have no idea who this is, but it was posted. And I thought it'd be worth sharing because obviously they're going to feel this way. Ukrainians responding to Trump's demand to repay the $250 billion given to Zelensky, and they're declaring, "We don't owe you a single cent." You naughty word.
Это вообще как?
How is this even possible?
Мы что, проиграли Соединенным Штатам войну?
Hey,
Вы вообще кто такие?
whoops. Who do you think you are to demand anything from us? We don't owe you a single cent. You, bad word. I mean, that's some audacity right there to say that. I don't even know who this guy is. And honestly, like, if I was in their shoes and some foreign government was like, you pay us back our money, I'd be like, I ain't giving you anything. So a little respect for that. But no, we're getting our money back because we're the USA and you guys are not. Anyway, the one more thing here. This came out today as well. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Donald Trump of repeating disinformation a day after the U.S. president falsely accused Ukraine of starting the war with Russia. And Trump had that Truth Social post I just showed you. That was as of like an hour ago. So that's new. And so he's like, Trump doubled down. Unfortunately, President Trump, I have great respect for him as a leader of a nation that we have great respect for. The American people who always support us, unfortunately, lives in this disinformation space. It's like a CNN line right there. Trump has made it clear he wants the war to end as soon as possible, even if it means further territorial losses for Ukraine, and much to the horror of Kyiv and its allies. Trump has at times adopted Kremlin's narrative and blamed Ukraine and NATO for the conflict, even saying that Ukraine may be Russian someday. Something I've been saying. Russia's going to end up with all of Ukraine as it used to have. But yeah, Trump is treating NATO and Ukraine like the enemy, and I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with it because they are, essentially. They were the ones who caused this thing. Some Doge news. So yesterday we talked about somebody had posted links to Judge Chukin. Yesterday she did not rule on anything. So as of this show yesterday, she's like, I'm going to take this into consideration and I will put forth my ruling in the next like 24 hours or something. She decided not to rule on it yesterday, which was an interesting move, maybe some signal for what was to come, because that's what came. She didn't rule on it. She denied the motion. This came out yesterday afternoon, I think around 4 o'clock or so. And I'm not going to read all. Well, let's read this. Based on the party's briefing, oral argument, and the current record, the court finds that plaintiffs have not carried their burden of showing that they will suffer imminent irreparable harm absent a temporary restraining order, and therefore plaintiffs' motion is denied. So this lawsuit, if you remember, was, I believe, the one that allowing them continued access to federal data systems, tried to halt Doge's involvement in federal agencies, citing concerns over unauthorized data access and potential overreach. But yeah, if you don't remember, Judge Tanya Chukin is the one who oversaw the January 6th Jack Smith case and was a total B-word about the whole thing. So this is surprising to me. I don't know why she would. I mean, she's already so far in. Like, why would she care? This is what Ash texted me about it yesterday. She asked me if I had a take on Chukin, even a couple sentences, and I just called her a dumb, naughty word. I think playing it straight with the law, this is Ash, is her best friend right now. She participated willingly in an extrajudicial effort to ensure he couldn't be president. Is she scared? It's a good point, and that's definitely one way you could look at this. I mean, it's probably the only likely explanation. She's not all of a sudden like a good judge, you know? And I would figure that she's so far gone that it wouldn't matter, that she would just do this stuff. So yeah, Ash is definitely right. I'd have to say. Yeah, we're just gonna have Ash on tomorrow. But this is just one win. We had another lawsuit come forth this morning. Before the court is plaintiff's motion for temporary restraining order and the memorandum in support thereof, requesting that the court briefly enjoin defendants from terminating plaintiffs or placing plaintiffs on leave without pay. The court held a hearing on the motion on February 18, 2025. That was yesterday, at which time defendants had not filed an opposition but expressed an intent to do so. Upon consideration of the filings, the record of the case, and the oral argument, the court concludes that it would benefit from defendants' response to the motion, including clarification as to what agency regulations are implicated in this case and potential irreparable harm to plaintiff John Doe's 1 through 6 and Jane Doe's 1 through 5. By the way, this is people from the CIA have filed this motion asking for a temporary restraining order because they don't think that they should be able to be fired from the CIA. As the court awaits full briefing and argument on the motion, it exercises its powers under All Writs Act and its inherent powers to manage its docket, blah, blah, blah. It is hereby ordered that the motion is continued to Monday. The defendants should file a motion by Thursday. The plaintiffs file a reply by Friday. An administrative stay is entered in the case until further order of this court, during which defendants shall refrain from terminating plaintiffs John Doe 1 through 6, Jane Doe 1 through 5, or placing these plaintiffs on leave without pay, such that these plaintiffs shall continue to be on administrative leave with their full pay and benefits. So it's an administrative stay. It's not technically a temporary restraining order. He's going to rule on that later. But for now, it's kind of the same thing. Trump wants to fire these people, and he's being told he can't by a rogue judge, another rogue judge. It is stupid. And he actually came out with an executive order yesterday. Executive order, kind of addressing this again, because it's totally unconstitutional. It's not in line with the Constitution that judges can stop the president from doing what he wants at every turn. We got to figure out a remedy for these blue state judges. And they're not even judges. That's being very generous. They're activists. But this is what he put out yesterday: ensuring accountability for all agencies. I'm going to read this, pretty much this whole thing, because it's really good. And it's his argument for why he has the authority to run the executive branch. The Constitution vests all executive power in the president and charges him with faithfully executing the laws. Since it would be impossible for the president to single-handedly perform all the executive business of the federal government, the Constitution also provides for subordinate officers to assist the president in his executive duties. In the exercise of their often considerable authority, these executive branch officials remain subject to the president's ongoing supervision and control. The president, in turn, is regularly elected by and accountable to the American people. This is one of the structural safeguards, along with the separation of powers between the executive and legislative branches. regular elections for the Congress, and an independent judiciary whose judges are appointed by the president by and with advice and consent of the Senate, by which the framers created a government accountable to the American people. So he's giving us an education in how the Constitution works and what was in there and what the founders likely intended. And this is the same thing we're going to see in all these court cases when they're challenged at the local level, whatever, or if they get all the way up to the Supreme Court. This is the argument. However, previous administrations have allowed so-called independent regulatory agencies to operate with minimal presidential supervision. These regulatory agencies currently exercise substantial executive authority without sufficient accountability to the president and through him to the American people. Moreover, these regulatory agencies have been permitted to promulgate significant regulations without review by the president. And if you remember the Chevron case, which SCOTUS overturned about a year ago, I don't remember when. It was sometime during the Biden administration. I think it was about a year ago. This is what they're talking, like that ruling back then comes into play with this. These agencies can't do that. They can't be these regulatory bodies. And they're part of the executive branch. I can't wait for one of these to get to SCOTUS and see Clarence Thomas just totally teabag these blue state judges and attorney generals. These practices undermine such regulatory agencies' accountability to the American people and prevent a unified and coherent execution of federal law. For the federal government to be truly accountable to the American people, officials who wield the vast executive power must be supervised and controlled by the people's elected president. Therefore, in order to improve the administration of the executive branch and to increase regulatory officials' accountability to the American people, it shall be the policy of the executive branch to ensure presidential supervision and control of the entire executive branch. Moreover, all executive departments and agencies, including so-called independent agencies, shall submit for review all proposed and final significant regulatory actions to the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, within the Executive Office of the President before publication in the Federal Register. So before anything can get published in the Federal Register, it's going to have to go through this Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, OIRA, and they go through and list all these definitions. And this is Trump issuing an executive order, probably in hopes that Congress will at some point codify it. But this is his argument that he's taking the SCOTUS. It has to come through the president and those he deems it needs to go through. He's taking direct control over these rogue agencies that have been committing the fraud, the wasteful spending, and essentially just the deep state overall. He's taking control of it. And he's not backing down, because this is probably like the second or third, maybe even fourth executive order along these lines, further narrowing what his constitutional role is as the president and how all these other agencies are outside that and beneath it. So it's good stuff. We got this from Elon Musk. He posted yesterday, or proposed, that he would ask President Donald Trump about a proposal for a Doge dividend that would give taxpayers a refund check of $5,000 funded by the savings from his Department of Government Efficiency. It is interesting. I mean, I would love to get all my money back. I know everybody would. These people have been committing a lot of crimes with our money, on taxpayer money, and it'd be great to get it back. I'm very skeptical it actually would happen, though. I would take no income taxes. That'd be great too. But if you're going to give money, I will gladly take the money. So I'm not opposed to this. We shall see, though. I wonder what Trump has to say. Trump will likely get asked this at some point, probably his next press conference, and I'm curious how he responds. I think we'd all like $5,000. Every one of us would reinvest it into Badlands, right? Or is that just me? We had this yesterday as well. And another great move. Great move here. Love this one. Radical transparency about wasteful spending. I'm all about transparency. We shouldn't need congressional committees for it, though. I'm still going to stand by why I still think the declassification congressional task force is not necessary. But we haven't heard anything new about any of those declassifications. I know they got I think it was about 10 days ago now, Trump got presented the plan about the JFK docs, but we haven't heard what the deal is on that, when we're actually going to be getting the D class. I know they found 2,400 more documents, so that could have potentially delayed some things, but we should be getting those soon. I would have to imagine. Anyway, radical transparency about wasteful spending. The United States government spends too much money on programs, contracts, and grants that do not promote the interests of the American people. For too long, taxpayers have subsidized ideological projects overseas and domestic organizations engaged in actions that undermine the national interest. The American people have seen their tax dollars used to fund the passion projects of unelected bureaucrats rather than to advocate the national interest. The American people have a right to see how the federal government has wasted their hard-earned wages. I therefore direct the heads of executive departments and agencies to take all appropriate actions to make public, to the maximum extent permitted by law, and as the heads and agencies, blah, 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 the details of every terminated program, canceled contract, terminated grant, or any other discontinued obligation of federal funds. They shall ensure that such publication occurs in accordance with all laws, blah, 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 blah. He is demanding that anything that we get canceled, because we're going through with Doge and all these agencies are being directed to cancel the wasteful spending, right? Everything that gets canceled needs to be made public so we can see how corrupt our government has been. Absolutely love it. And I just realized I'm at 42 minutes already, and I actually have a decent amount of stuff left, so I'm going to cruise here a little bit. Expanding access to in vitro fertilization. Won't read this whole thing, but he basically talks about how expensive it is for IVF. The cost per cycle can range anywhere from $12,000 to $25,000. A lot of people are hopeful of starting a family. They can't because they can't conceive, and then they can't afford to do IVF. They recognize the importance. Trump's administration recognizes the importance of family formation, and as a nation, our public policy must make it easier for loving and longing mothers and fathers to have children. This could help the declining birth rate here. I like this. I wonder how low they can get it, but I'm fully supportive of people having kids. Just don't be a gold digger about it like Ashley St. Clair. So that's a good move by Trump. This is interesting. Musk's X eyes fresh funding round at $44 billion. X's financial outlook appears to be steadily improving as recently high-yield fund managers' interest in the company debt soared, adding to the momentum. Elon Musk announced earlier this month that the advertiser boycott has unraveled, a major development that could significantly boost the company's revenue in the coming quarters. That's the part of the story I'm excited about. I don't really care about them doing another round of funding. I want to see this advertiser boycott unravel everywhere, because it would be great to see like places like Rumble get access to the entire advertiser pool, because that would help our bottom line. As a media company and a business, I would love to get to a point where we are able to turn every one of our contributors into full-time info warriors, I guess. Like, I would love to see everybody in this full-time. Right now, like we can only pay people what they generate in revenue because we don't have a huge surplus in income. We just don't. But if we ever did like start getting actual advertisers and get access to the advertising pool, that could change. We could make some Tim Pool YouTube money and actually support everybody on this network, which is my dream. And I'm going to keep working until we get there and beyond. But really, really excited to see that part of this. Don't care about the X round of funding. There's also a rumor here that came out. Speaking of social media companies and Elon Musk, TikTok has allegedly, no source for this, by the way, from the New York Post, but I'll just read the headline. TikTok receives $50 billion offer from U.S. entrepreneur to buy the app. And you read the story. A wealthy entrepreneur based in a Western U.S. state will be making an offer to buy TikTok for around $50 billion on Wednesday, the Post can reveal. No source. The title says that they already received the offer, or TikTok receives $50 billion offer. They just say it's happening sometime today. I don't even know if it happens. They don't know who did it, but they floated the name Larry Ellison, Oracle. They floated Elon Musk, Frank McCourt, and Kevin O'Leary. So we'll see what happens. This will probably come out sometime today. Sorry, I want to check my... see if there's any breaking news while I'm live, but no. Yeah, so TikTok, that'll be interesting. I am very curious to see who ends up purchasing that and how it benefits the United States. Because Trump, remember, he said, like, we'll give you the waiver for it, but you share the profits 50-50. And so this deal or whatever takes place, the Trump administration's kind of hinges on them Because if they don't get that waiver, then it doesn't matter if you buy the company, you're not going to be able to use it here. So it's contingent on that waiver. Carolyn Levitt blasts irresponsible Chuck Schumer for blaming Delta plane crash on Donald Trump, even though it was in Canada. I'm going to play this clip here from Fox. Oh, hold on.
It's incredibly irresponsible for Chuck Schumer to say such a thing when the investigation is still underway. And as you rightfully pointed out, John, this crash unfortunately took place in Canadian airspace with Canadian air traffic controllers overseeing it. And the facts about the FAA are that no air traffic controllers have been let go by Secretary Duffy or this new administration. In fact, Secretary Duffy has put great emphasis on hiring.
Carolyn Levitt is so good. She's been great. But yeah, it's just funny. Democrats are trying to blame the Canadian plane crash on Trump. And they're just that's stupid. Again, when your platform is anti-Trump, you've lost. And you've lost even more because what are you going to do in the future when there is no more Trump? They're probably still just going to be anti-Trump. We got this. This is, I wanted to point this out because I think this is an interesting narrative we may see more of in the future when you think in hindsight back to Trump's first term. Okay, Schumer spotted posing for a photo with CCP official as warning swirl about China influence. The New York Dem has also been photographed with the official's predecessor, who also promoted CCP propaganda. He's been repeatedly photographed this month, sharing a stage with the CCP official who has publicly denied China's alleged genocide against the Uyghur population. The photos of him, including attending at least 2 Chinese parades. There he is. Look at that guy. Just super happy wearing those Chinese colors. This part here. Fox News Digital spoke to an expert on U.S.-China relations who pushed back on the idea of elected officials publicly fraternizing with CCP officials. The Chinese Communist Party is actively seeking to weaken America from within. Elected officials shouldn't share the stage with them. They should be working to defeat Beijing. Why I said I think this is taking us back a little bit to Trump's first term is there was a huge push from Pompeo, from Ratcliffe, from all those guys. They wrote this huge it was like 100-page memo or a little pamphlet. It was a compilation of all the speeches that these Trump administration officials gave, like against Trump. And here's let me show you that booklet again. This was the day of the election, by the way. Sorry, the day before, November 2nd of 2020. You got this. Trump on China, putting America first, a collection of speeches laying out the most significant United States foreign policy shift in a generation. And it goes through all these people talking about how Trump or China is the biggest threat we have. China's the biggest threat we have. And now we're getting stories about Chuck Schumer posing with China. Pompeo warned all the governors of be careful with China. All these things. We know that the Bidens have some ties to China. And I think we're going to see a big push and some major revelations about our government officials and their corrupt ties to China. I think this is starting to seed that back into our minds a little bit. So keep your eyes out for that. Grok 3 launched yesterday and apparently can code asteroid game. That's cool. Haven't played around with that yet, though. I thought this was funny. We had a Politico hack saying Russia's military suffered 530,000 casualties in 2024. A NATO official said. These people are trying to quote NATO with how many casualties NATO thinks Russia has suffered in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So oxymoron. A couple quick stories I'm going to buzz through. Some of these are tied together. It's got like 5-10 minutes here. Bolsonaro indicted over alleged coup plot to overturn 2022 election. Bolsonaro is among 34 individuals facing charges, including armed criminal organization, attempted violent abolition of democracy, coup d'etat, and violent property damage. They claim he met with ambassadors in 2022 to spread unfounded allegations of election fraud, preparing the international community to reject the results. The defendants allegedly continued efforts to discredit the electoral system and planned a coup, which prosecutors say included a plot to assassinate President Luiz Lula da Silva and his vice president. One, not only is this very much in line with what they tried to do to Trump, like this is the same playbook, but the same day this happens, and this is where I'm like, what's going on here? Trump media and Rumble sue Brazilian justice over alleged censorship amid Bolsonaro case. This is very interesting. Rumble stated that the lawsuit specifically accuses Moraes of violating First Amendment protections by ordering the suspension of a U.S.-based account belonging to a well-known political figure, though the individual was not named. I just think the timing of it is very interesting. And then also, this just came out now, right? This lawsuit, but I haven't opened it. I haven't looked into it. But there's been this back and forth between Rumble and Brazil for a little while. Rumble's like head of their head lawyer was Michael Ellis, the guy who just went over to be the deputy at the CIA, deputy director of the CIA, I believe. So that's, I don't know. I just think it's all connected somehow. You have Bolsonaro getting charged, Rumble and Trump suing Brazil, and then Rumble's former head lawyer going to the CIA. There's something going on there. Judicial Watch has sued the Pentagon over Milley's pre-January 6 coordination calls. They're trying to get the FOIA. They filed the FOIAs trying to get some more information. So keeping tabs on this. The request sought records and communications concerning 2 calls hosted by then acting Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller, then Secretary of the Army Ryan McCarthy, and Milley on January 3rd and 4th. Participants included blah, blah, blah. They were to establish a common operating picture ahead of January 6th. So going to keep eyes on this. Judicial Watch is pretty good, and they usually win a lot of these FOIA cases. So I just thought it was notable. Wanted to point that out. We got, what else do we got? I think that might be it. Ooh, that's it. Awesome. That is all, guys. Hold on, I gotta mute something. Okay, let me check if there's anything else on the website that's new. No. Okay, so we're good. So guys, don't forget to get your guard tickets. Friday, time is to be determined, but we're going to be doing an exclusive ticket holder show. So you have to have an in-person or virtual ticket to join. Might even be a call-in show. That'll be sometime Friday afternoon. I'll announce that here probably tomorrow, maybe even tonight on the Power Hour. So stay tuned. But you need your tickets. Badlandsmedia.tv/events. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated. What else? I'll be back on the Power Hour tonight at 10:30 Eastern with Burning Bright. Maybe have Ghost on too to discuss some things. Should be a good show as usual. Fun show. So don't miss that. And yeah, I apologize. I won't be back to read the rants because this is a pre-record. I'm going to go have lunch with my son at his school. So you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thank you to the sponsors, Save Pulse and Goldco. We'll see y'all next time I see you.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
2, 3. Let's get started.
That's what she said.
Oh, that's real good.
Why they stopping me? Stopping me.